Gentleman, Kurt Warner. Good to see you, Kurt. How are you?
Kurt, let's go.
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
What's your opinion of the move that Kevin Stefanski made, sir? What do you think about Flacco out, Dylan Gabriel in? What do you think?
I think most of us felt like it was just a matter of time, that the future of their franchise wasn't Joe Flacco, even though he was the best quarterback, obviously coming in. And I think he's played well at times. I don't think he played very well on Sunday, with the record where it is. And, I think I've heard a few people talk about it. They've got some draft stock in the first round next year where they could get a quarterback if one of those guys is the right guy. I'm not sure watching college football who that right guy is, to pick high in the draft quite yet. But if they want to do that, they got to figure out these two guys that they drafted this year, if one of them can be their guy or can be their guy for a while until they find that right guy that they think can take over. And so, again, if they started out hot, Joe would have obviously kept the seat with some of the struggles that they've had with where their record is. I don't think this surprises anybody that Dylan's going to get his shot. If he plays well, I think he'll obviously hold on to the seat. If he doesn't play well, I would not be surprised if Shedeur at some point gets an opportunity as well, just to say, hey, let's empty this thing and let's see who is our best guy. And if one of these guys can be a franchise quarterback, or if we've got to make another move.
What'd you see from Jackson Dart on film as Dart became the first quarterback from the rookie class to win a game in the NFL? He's 1 for 1 now, and against the Chargers defense, that's no joke, as you know, Kurt. What'd you make of Jackson Dart's first appearance?
Yeah, I mean, if you just break down the X's and O's, it wasn't a great performance. Made some throws, missed some things. But I think you could feel the spark that he gave this team. And, you never can really quite put your finger on, okay, what was that? The first drive, they take the ball all the way down, they score, he runs it in, he makes a couple big runs in there. And I think those big runs energize people. Why their defense play so much better this week than they have. Those are things that you can't explain other than they're fired up to have him for whatever reason, whatever he brings to the table. And you could feel that. Even just me watching the All 22, I felt like it was a different team out there. And like I said, it wasn't great, just from, quarterback play, but he gave him a couple big plays in the game, a couple big runs, some things to excite the fans. And so I think it was obviously a great, first outing that you don't play great, but you energize your team and you get a win against a 3-0 team. That's exactly how you want to start, and there's a lot of room for improvement.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. As you know, we're always looking for corners to be turned, sir. Have the Chiefs turned it? Have the Chiefs turned the corner? Kurt Warner.
You know what? I want to say yes, and solely because of the fact of how they played this game. We covered the first game in Brazil, and I talked about it a lot. Like, it didn't look like the same Chiefs team, just from the standpoint is they weren't running RPOs. They weren't throwing a lot of their quick throws, and supplementing their run game with that kind of play. And that has really been their MO for the last couple years, is they couldn't push the ball down the field. So it was a lot of quick throws. That was their run game, yards after catch. And we just didn't see that early. And maybe it was because, as we talked to Andy Reid, there was a big package for Xavier Worthy, and he goes out in the third play. And so maybe they didn't have anybody that they could plug in and run those plays. But when I popped on the tape this past week, it looked like the Chiefs to me. There was a lot more RPOs and those quick throws to supplement that run game and to use Patrick's ability to get defense out of position and then just make those quick throws. A lot more wide receiver screens. And then they got some big plays down the field. But that, to me, is the Chiefs' offense. And I finally saw it again. And so maybe it is because Xavier Worthy is back. We know Rashee Rice is a couple weeks away, and he adds that piece as well. And so I feel really good about where they are after that performance against the Baltimore Ravens. And I know a lot of people expected the Ravens to win that game just because of better roster across the board. But they dominated that football game, and they were doing what I expected the Chiefs to do all year long. So I do believe they have turned the corner and gotten back to, maybe not a perfect formula, but the formula that was a winning formula for them a year ago.
And then the corner in Houston has C.J. Stroud and that offense turned it. 26-0 win over the Titans, in which Stroud was 22 for 28 with a passer rating just a little north of 125. Have the Texans and Stroud turned a corner?
No, I'm going to say no. I was watching that film and I kept asking myself, they won 26-0, right? Like, where's this offense? Where is it at? I thought it would be more explosive than it was. And so, the numbers were good. I still think they have issues there. I'm still trying to put my finger on, what's going on with CJ. And again, the numbers were good, and sometimes you have those performances, but I can't shake the first 3 weeks of the season out of my head quite yet. There was a lot of struggles. CJ just doesn't look like the same player that he was as a rookie. Just awareness, seeing things, getting the ball out of his hands. So I'm not ready to say that they've turned a corner quite yet. I think they played a Titans team that really struggles offensively, and that's why it looked like it did. I'm going to need to see some of that against a better football team.
Okay, so have the Falcons turned a corner offensively? Have we found something with Penix that they were able to uncork on Washington, Kurt?
Yeah, here's another one that I'm not quite sure. I'm starting to wonder, because I thought they looked really good in week 1 of the season. And I thought, man, Michael Penix looks really good. And, this team could be, something to reckon with because of all their weapons. And then we go 2 weeks where he doesn't look very good. And then he comes back and he looks really good again this 4th week. And, so for me, consistency is the name of the game at the quarterback position. And that means seeing it. That means being able to work through things when your first read's not open and being able to find the next guy. That's how you have to play the position. There are going to be some games where the number 1 read is open quite a bit, and you just have to drop back and throw it. And most of these guys that are starting in the NFL can drop back and throw it. And so I can't just take one game where things just kind of worked out pretty favorably for them and say, okay, they've turned the corner. I think they've got a very simple offense. They run a lot of these choice routes and things every single week, a lot of the same concepts over and over again. And when those things are open, team looks pretty good. When those things aren't open, they don't look very good. And so I have to see some more evolution here. And I've got to see Michael work through some things beyond just his first read and those guys getting open before I'm ready to say that this offense has turned the corner. They've got lots of talent, and we see what they're capable of. We've seen it a couple times this year, what they're capable of. But then you wonder, why how do you have a Carolina game where you can't put any points on the board and you struggle? So again, not ready to say they've turned the corner. Obviously, it was a great performance on Sunday, but I need to see more consistency there.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. Kurt, you're the perfect guy to ask so many questions with your Hall of Fame resume and your QB Confidential YouTube page. But this one, I think, is particular. You're the perfect person to ask about this because it involves passing concepts and a Bible verse. Like you're an expert on all of these, okay? A.J. Brown tweeting out a Bible verse about patience, essentially, after another minimal target game, to say the least. What are you seeing about this Eagles passing game that is a problem? And what do you think A.J. Brown should do other than just staying patient? Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because we understand the formula that Philly has. And that's to run the football, and then when a team wants to take away the run, give you one-on-one on the outside.